Speculation is forming an opinion that is based on insufficient information. Essentially, it's a guess. It's a kind of ignorance, and it's a dangerous practice. Let's be tactful and call it risky. Most often, people engage in speculation because the prospect of a benefit is there, if they act. They may be tempted to do so, even though they know they could be wrong and they could lose. Speculation will never be confused with wisdom, and is frowned upon by studious observers. Speculation is the target of that old bromide, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. But you could also argue that all knowledge, to some extent, is really speculative. Speculation is an emphatic pejorative in the financial world. Any history of the Great Depression will tell you that one of the main causes of the collapse was rampant speculation in the stock market. People were legally permitted to buy stocks on a 10% margin, which increased their purchasing power tenfold. They would buy huge quantities of stock, driving the price up, and then sell, taking their profit and leaving the stock at an inflated, insupportable price. Many inflated prices created a bubble, and when it blew, prices fell to nothing, and investors were wiped out. They lost all their money, and this was really serious because no one was there to bail them out. The bubble burst, the ship sank, and the depression was on. No area of the market is safe from speculation. There have been notorious land speculators. People regularly speculate in silver and gold and other commodities. The Enron fiasco was a case of crazed speculation in the petroleum industry. The latest financial ruin in this country, the United States, was caused in part by banks assuming bad mortgages and bundling them into massive funds that seemed impressive but were backed by nothing. They sold these to other institutions for enormous sums, even though they were worthless. When the mortgage payments began to fail, as they were sure to do, some of the biggest financial brokers in the world slid instantly into bankruptcy. You know the rest of that story, and if you don't, the very short version is that everyone got screwed except the people who knowingly caused the disaster, the speculators. They got off because they tend to run a little ahead of the bad news. They can see it coming, and they make arrangements to avoid the damage. In the financial world, the captain does not go down with the ship. The captain is the first one off. Speculation for a writer is a similar proposition. Most thoroughly professional writers would refuse to write on spec. They'd want a contract with front money and points on the back, if possible. A writer would work on spec only because they are unknown and hope to crack the market, to show up with a brilliant piece of work that will make oodles of money for all involved. Then the writer will never have to work on spec again. Hollywood, which makes sport of screenwriters and chews them up like tires on a race car, has its legends of those who wrote a script on spec and got rich off the bidding wars for it that ensued. Those stories encourage droves of writers to chase that Klondike and work on spec so that they, too, can cash in. Most find nothing but frustration, humiliation, rejection, poverty, and a bitter entrance into some other, wholly undesired life. That said, I think writing lends itself to speculation. A certain amount of speculation is inherent in almost all writing. A great deal of the finest writing is born in speculation, or what John Keats called surmise. I write on spec. I didn't start out doing that. It was something of a gradual process in which I weaned myself away from paying customers until finally all of my work was speculative, every single bit of it. I'm not happy about this. As far as baskets go, into which you put your precious eggs, speculation is a cavalier choice, one most people could not afford to make, one no sensible person would make. As Samuel Johnson famously said, no one but a blockhead ever wrote for anything but money. It is possible to do good work on a contract basis. The evidence for that is manifold. But everything I do is on spec. My entire life is speculative, which means the chances are great that it will come to nil. Speculation as a strategy, as a guide for your life, is not a sound practice. I can't recommend it. It's kin to the compulsive gambler who chases the big score while piling up the losses. Don Quixote, honored for his foolishness, is nevertheless a fool.